What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at more news and rumors you need to know, including Brock Lesnar heat. Is Becky Lynch planning on returning to the WWE? Superstars also react to the George Floyd incident. And Zack Ryder's biggest problem in the WWE. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Hit the intro because it's now time for the news. Now our first story looks at some Brock Lesnar heat backstage. Now, as we noted in our previous video, Matt Riddle is rumoured to move to the Blue brand and he could even be appearing on this week's episode of SmackDown. Now this is odd because backstage it's been told that Heyman is a big fan of him, so you'd think he'd want him on his brand so that he can book him properly. Well, actually that can't be possible thanks to the real life heat between Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar. Brian Alvarez recently reported on the Wrestling Observer Radio. The strange thing about this is that Paul Heyman is a big fan of Matt Riddle, so you'd think he's going to Raw. But this Matt Riddle-Lesnar deal, I mean, it's weird. Like, I'm sure there are aspects of it who people that are just encouraging Matt Riddle to do what Matt Riddle does, but on the other side of this, if anything else should tell you that this is legit, because if they were trying to work together to build something up for the match, I mean, Matt Riddle goes to Raw. Lesnar's not around. It's not like he can say I'm not gonna share a locker room with him. Lesnar probably won't be around until they're running shows with fans again. Now, whilst we probably won't ever get a match between him and Brock Lesnar, we could still get a match between him and Goldberg. After all, Goldberg is on the Blue brand, and there's a greater possibility of them two running into each other backstage. What would you guys rather have? Matt Riddle versus Brock Lesnar, or Goldberg versus Matt Riddle? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up is Becky Lynch planning on returning to the WWE. Becky Lynch's pregnancy has fans wondering whether she'll return to the WWE after she's given birth. Speaking with ESPNW's Charlotte Gibson, Lynch talked about her pregnancy and why now is the time to start a family. Well, it's tough because I've given my whole life to wrestling and to moving forward my career, but this was a choice that for me felt like the right one. Because it is wild that a lot of women still have to choose between their athletics or a family, and I didn't want to have to choose that. For me, this was the right time to go and start a family, something that I've always wanted to do, and so I feel like I've achieved nearly everything I could achieve in wrestling. I think there's nothing more important than family, and I'm so excited to experience that, and I have this other person that is half me and half the love of my life that I get to show love. Lynch praised other WWE superstars who are moms and who have shown that you can balance a family and a career in the squared circle. Bringing it closer to home, I'll talk about the mothers in my own line of work. WWE superstars Asuka, Mickie James, and Lacey Evans. They're all proven that you can do both. Wait a minute. When did Asuka become a mother? Is that even known? Is that a misquote? Let us know in the comments down below. Given all she's accomplished, it does sound like Lynch is at the right stage in her life to start a family. As for what the future holds in the squared circle, yeah, I think it's one of those things where I know I feel and think as a person without a child. I don't know what that's going to look like when I do have one, and that's my priority. I'll tell you, it'll give me more motivation than ever I could imagine. But this isn't the end for me, one way or the other. In all fairness, it's impossible for Becky to make a decision until after she started a family, and fans will just have to wait and see what she decides to do. For now, we wish her all the best and hope she enjoys motherhood. Next up, superstars react to the George Floyd incident. Now, if you're unaware of what has just happened, it's a very controversial news story that has flared up a number of debates, one being the amount of force that police officers use against black people in America. During George Floyd's arrest, there was understandably too much force being applied to him in order to restrain him, so much so that he couldn't even breathe. As a result of this, George Floyd passed away. Many superstars reacted to the incident. They were understandably very upset and very angry. Titus O'Neil wrote out a very strong message on Instagram, so did Dave Bautista. Lance Storm even tweeted, "Let me get this straight, George Floyd was cuffed and the cop with his knees on his neck and his hands in his pockets. Hands in his pockets. He was not feeling threatened, he was not needing to restrain Mr. Floyd." Jey Uso even sent out an emotional message, saying he fears for his kids and their future. However, not many people were too pleased with Lacey Evans' reply, as all she did was reply with a few emojis, and with some saying that isn't enough. One Twitter user wrote, "What's that supposed to do?" Another wrote, "We need more, your emojis do nothing for us." Whatever the reaction from WWE superstars, the incident was clearly unjust. And finally, Zack Ryder's biggest problem in WWE. Former WWE superstar Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, and Kurt Hawkins, aka Brian Myers, recently appeared on the Talk is Jericho podcast, with both men recalling the night at Madison Square Garden when Ryder got a bigger pop than The Rock. According to Ryder,
"This is November. I start the YouTube show in February, so it's almost a whole year of working my ass off and just trying to get noticed, trying.
From pure jabroni status to the Madison Square Garden, shaking for this guy.
Right.
Shaking. Like, it was so cool to see.
Zack started his Long Island IZ series on YouTube, with the WWE getting behind him strongly. And while the WWE gave him a push, they eventually pulled the rug out from under him, effectively burying him. Brian Myers talks about how the WWE's burial of his friend changed things backstage.
Every year, as long as I was in WWE, after the Raw after Mania, we have this BS company, everyone there at TV meeting where we say the brass ring is there, it's yours, it's a fresh year, who's gonna get it? Ever since Long Island Ice Z and the whole Z True Island story thing, they don't even bother with that meeting anymore.
Wow.
Because they know it's not true. It's not true, because even if you grab the brass ring, you're gonna get your hand smacked, and if they don't want you to have it, you're not gonna have it.
Now, we find it hard to believe that Ryder was getting over more than The Rock, but if so, the WWE really lost out on a potentially big star with Ryder. Hopefully the 35-year-old grappler will get a chance to fulfill his potential wherever he ends up, which could be AEW as he's recently hinted at. But there you have it guys, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.